Hey guys, so we're going to do something a little different today. I'm going to do a lighting / pre-production breakdown using CineTracer. Now, this footage was recorded on an older version of CineTracer, and the software has come a long way since I previs this project. But the footage and previs and screenshots I'm going to show you are from a Christmas theme project I shot at the end of 2018. It's now July 2019, and this is the first chance I've really had to sit and actually record this video. So apologies about the delay and the fact that we're talking about a Christmas project in July. Yeah, let's get stuck in and take a look. Didn't really know what the location was going to be, so I had to come up with a very general sort of office-y type space. And, you know, we imagined there were going to be 3 chairs for the 3 main characters and then the table. As you'll see when we get into the actual video, this sort of did change a little bit, but I'll get onto that later. We've got the 3 cast at the one end, then we've got the producer and the choir at the other. The lighting setup for this was always going to be quite simple. It was basically going to be a 2K through diffusion. So here we are. Here's sort of the shots I did of the key cast. So I went for a sort of wider 3 shot, which was like the master, and then I punched in for singles, and then I basically flipped the setup, did a single of the producer, and then a wider 4 shot to cover the choir and the producer, as you can see. So let's move on to the second scene. So we've got the performance section here, where the 3 key cast have a sing off against the choir boys, and we wanted something a bit more dramatic, so it was top lit, very stagey kind of lighting. And then we also had sort of Christmas lights in the background for a bit of colour and bokeh. So in terms of the previs for this, I had a 3 shot of the key cast, and then I did a matched 3 shot of the choir boys. And then we also had a single of the producer, which is sort of the shot that bridges the gap between the scene and the performance beginning. Okay, so here's the master wide from the first scene, which is the shot of the producer and the 3 choir boys. And as you can see, the main difference between what we did on set versus the previs is we actually included the 3 main characters in the shot as well. One of the reasons that this came about was because our location let us down super last minute. So we ended up shooting it in a studio called the Lamp Works in Birmingham, and the team there are really great, and they allowed us in at very short notice to shoot in their space, which was great. And instead of having a sort of conference room, we had like this brickwork attic type environment, which felt like the best place to shoot, like some sort of new kind of startup trendy offices. So we thought we'd shoot it in there, and instead of having a big conference table, we had this open space and a sofa. So in terms of lighting for this, it's really simple. As per the previs, we've got a tungsten 2K fixture shooting through a bigger diffusion, and then we've got the practicals from the tree, and then those Christmas lights sort of gaffer taped to the wall, that 2K through the diffusion, which is just out of shot on the right of frame. So then moving on to the next shot, which is the close-up of the producer. As you can see, we've got the sparkly Christmas lights in the background for a bit of bokeh and a bit of colour. And then obviously one of the main differences is, instead of this being a close-up and single of him, we've got the producer, but then we've also got one and then the shoulder of another one of the choir boys in the background, just because the relationship between the producer and the choir boys that we've established in the wide, it's carrying through that relationship into the close-up. It'd feel really weird if you couldn't see them in the background because of the spacing between them in the wide. So they kind of needed to be in the shot as well. We've then got the 3 shot of the guys on the sofa, and the way we made this entire setup work was the wall that they're sat against is the same wall that the Christmas tree and the Christmas lights are hanging off, because the room's quite a long room, so I didn't want it to feel massive. So we instead flipped the set around and had them against the wall. I wish I'd brought them a little bit further away from the wall, because obviously in the initial wide you can see that there's no wall immediately behind them. So I should have brought them a bit further forward, and that's on me. And it's something that I take into account if I'm doing something like this in future, is make sure that I've got enough distance between them and the wall to make sense when the set's flipped. Which I kind of get away with it in this case, but it's something that every time I see this video I notice, and it really bothers me. But it's one of those, you chalk it up to experience, you live and you learn. It doesn't ruin the piece. It's just one of those niggly little things that I'm like, I wish I'd done that slightly differently. So then we've got the three singles of the key cast, all with a very similar eye line, very similar composition, because I wanted to keep them on sort of equal footing, and they all share that one eye line to the producer, and then a little bit of glancing between each other, but it's mostly that single eye line to the producer who's stood in front of them. Again, lighting wise, with these three close-ups and the wide shot before these, it was 2K through diffusion. But obviously, because we flipped the set around and they're against the back wall, what I had to do was I blacked out the windows with some Duvetine, and then put the 2K on the opposite side, so the direction of shadows matches what was in the initial wide shot where the windows are in shot. Okay, so now we've got the first shot that leads us into the second scene in this short film, and it's of the producer in a very, very different lighting setup, stood in front of the sort of sparkly Christmas tree lights, and he delivers the line, "Let the sing-off begin," and this takes us into the sort of comedy sing-off section at the end of the video, and we just felt we needed something to bridge that gap. And then this shot pulls out to the wide shot, and I'll talk about the lighting setup now based off this wide shot. So we wanted something a bit more stagey, as I mentioned in the previs. So we've really darkened the room. I mean, this was in November, December, so the sun's set in the UK. It was like 3 or 4 p.m. and we were here when it was dark, so that all the natural light had gone. So we were using the practicals from the hanging lights, and then a Godox SL60W in a softbox overslung on a truss bar, and that was like a really toppy stage light. So here we've got the two close up 3 shots. They're match shots, one for the key cast now in costume, as you can see, and then one for the choir boys, and these were intercut with that previous wide shot for the remainder of the film, which was a little bit of a sing off, then some dialogue as the key cast walk out of the room. Now, I wish I'd used tungsten instead of a daylight balance here, just to give it a warmer feel. I think it would have looked a lot nicer if I'd gone with tungsten, and if I'd diffused the light a little more, because I'd put it in the softbox, so we're getting obviously a bigger source, so it's softer than it would be if it was just direct. But I wish I'd put more diffusion in the softbox itself, just to give it that nice softer quality rather than going too stagey. Because the lighting we've got at the moment is very, very harsh, and given more time, I definitely would have diffused it a bit more, and I would have probably put a tungsten gel on it or used a tungsten fixture just to have that warmer quality of light. So that's it for this video, and this has been my first sort of cinematography / lighting kind of previs breakdown. I'm probably going to do a few more of these. This is a new format, so I'm sort of experimenting with this, trying to work out how to cover it best. If there's bits you didn't like, bits you did like, just let me know in the comments. But yeah, so that's it for today. There'll probably be another one of these within the next couple of months for a project I've been shooting called White Feather. I've got some really great examples of the BTS from that, so I'll probably do something very similar to this with that. But for now, I'll catch you in the next one, guys.